My name is Detective Marcus Johnson, and for 15 years I've been part of the city's SWAT team. I've stared down armed criminals, broken into fortified hideouts, and rescued hostages from situations most people can't even imagine. I've faced danger head-on more times than I can count. But nothing in all those years prepared me for the cruelty of one woman, HOA President Karen Williams. She didn't come at me with weapons. She didn't need to. She went after something far more precious, my 12-year-old daughter, Emma. Before watching full story, comment below from where you're watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Emma was born with spina bifida and has spent her entire life in a wheelchair. But if you think that slows her down, you'd be wrong. She's the brightest, most cheerful kid you could ever meet. Every morning, she wheels herself through our neighborhood, greeting everyone with that radiant smile of hers. "Morning, Mr. Peterson," she always calls, and the old man answers back with a laugh. People love Emma. At least, most people do. And that's where Karen comes in. She saw Emma not as a child, not as a neighbor, but as a problem to be erased. 2 years ago, we moved into Willowbrook Estates. At first glance, it seemed perfect, a quiet suburban community with smooth sidewalks for Emma's wheelchair, neat houses, and neighbors who smiled when you waved. For the first time, I thought maybe Emma would have the kind of normal childhood she deserved. On our very first day, Karen Williams, the HOA president, showed up with a fruit basket in her hands and a smile stretched so wide it looked painted on. "We're so happy to have you here," she said. "It's always wonderful to welcome new families to our community." I should have recognized that smile for what it was, a mask. The first sign came only a week later. I opened our mailbox to find a letter from the HOA. According to the notice, we had violated neighborhood guidelines by installing an unauthorized modification. That modification, the wheelchair ramp I had built so Emma could get in and out of our house safely. I called Karen immediately. "Mrs. Williams, this is for my daughter. She literally cannot enter the house without it." Her voice was syrupy sweet, but her words cut like ice. "I understand your situation, Mr. Johnson, but the rules apply to everyone. You'll need to remove the ramp within 30 days or face daily fines." I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "It's required by law, Karen. You know that." "Not in my neighborhood," she replied flatly. Before hanging up, that was the moment I realized Karen Williams wasn't just another pushy neighbor. She was dangerous, not with guns or fists, but with rules, power, and prejudice. And she had just declared war on my little girl. From that day on, the harassment only grew worse. Karen wasn't satisfied with sending one letter. She made it her mission to bury us in them. Every week, another notice appeared in our mailbox. Wheelchair tire marks on the sidewalk constitute property damage. Storing a wheelchair in the garage violates HOA aesthetic guidelines. Disabled parking signage creates an eyesore and lowers neighborhood appeal. Each accusation was more absurd than the last, yet each one was designed to wear us down. Emma, being the gentle soul she is, tried to make peace in her own way. One evening, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered through tear-filled eyes, "Daddy, maybe I should stop going on my morning rides. Maybe that would make her happy." My heart shattered hearing that. I knelt beside her wheelchair and held her hand. "Absolutely not, Emma. This is your home. You belong here as much as anyone else. Don't you ever let anyone make you think otherwise." I said the words with conviction, but inside, I was boiling. My training in SWAT had taught me how to prepare before striking. In our world, we called it reconnaissance, studying the enemy, knowing their patterns, collecting evidence until the time was right. So that's what I did. I documented every letter, every conversation, every picture Karen took of Emma when she thought no one was looking. And make no mistake, Karen was watching. She would linger near the end of our driveway in the mornings, phone in hand, snapping photos as Emma wheeled by. Sometimes, she muttered insults under her breath. Other times, she wrote things down in a little notebook like she was building a case. Emma tried to ignore it, but I saw how it weighed on her. The joy in her morning greetings dimmed. Her cheerful hellos became quieter, less confident. That was when I realized something important. Karen wasn't just trying to fine us into submission. She was trying to break Emma's spirit. And if there's one thing I won't tolerate, not in my line of work, not in my life, it's watching someone try to destroy my daughter. 3 months later, Karen made her boldest move yet. Word spread that she had called a special neighborhood meeting at the community center to discuss quality of life issues. Funny thing, my family never received an invitation. That alone set off alarms in my head. Our neighbor, Mrs. Chin, called me that evening in a hushed tone. "Marcus, they're voting on new rules tonight. Rules that sound like they're aimed straight at Emma. You need to be there." I changed into civilian clothes and walked down to the community center. Through the wide windows, I could see about 30 residents seated, their attention fixed on Karen standing at the front with her polished smile and projector screen. Her words made my blood run cold. "Property values have declined since certain elements moved in," she declared, clicking to the next slide. Up on the screen appeared photos, pictures of Emma in her wheelchair, of our ramp, of her laughing with other kids. Medical equipment left outside homes creates an unwelcoming atmosphere. She continued. Children with special needs require supervision that disrupts normal neighborhood activities. She was talking about my daughter as if she were a disease, a nuisance to be scrubbed away. All in favor of adopting the new accessibility restrictions? She asked, scanning the room. A few hands lifted hesitantly, others stayed frozen. The silence was suffocating. Then, out of nowhere, Mrs. Peterson, the elderly woman across the street, rose slowly to her feet. Her voice shook, but her words were sharp. Karen Williams, you should be ashamed of yourself. That little girl brings more joy to this neighborhood than you ever have. Mrs. Peterson, you are out of order. Karen snapped, her mask cracking. No, you're out of order, Mr. Chin shouted, standing up beside her. Emma is a sweet child. These rules are cruel and unnecessary. Voices began rising from all corners of the room. Neighbors, people I barely knew stood in defense of my daughter. Karen's face flushed red as her perfect plan unraveled. She slammed her folder shut. Fine. Live in a neighborhood that looks like a hospital. Don't come crying to me when your property values collapse. She stormed out, but I saw it in her eyes. As she passed, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 2 weeks later. Karen struck harder than ever before. I was at the training facility with my SWAT team when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, and the voice on the other end made my stomach twist. Mr. Johnson, this is Principal Martinez from Willowbrook Elementary. There's been an incident with your daughter, Emma. You need to come immediately. My grip tightened around the phone. Is she hurt? She's safe, but there are serious allegations. Please come right away. I didn't waste a second. I broke every speed limit getting to the school. When I burst into the principal's office, I found Emma sitting in her wheelchair, cheeks streaked with tears. A police officer stood nearby, and in the corner smug, composed, and enjoying every second was Karen Williams. What's going on here? I demanded. Principal Martinez shifted uncomfortably. Mrs. Williams has filed a complaint. She alleges that Emma has been using her wheelchair to intentionally ram into other children, that she's using it as a weapon. My jaw nearly hit the floor. You've got to be kidding me. Karen folded her arms, her voice dripping with fake concern. I saw it myself. Officer, that child deliberately ran into my grandson yesterday. She's dangerous. Someone had to say something. I turned to Emma. Honey, tell me the truth. Through hiccuping sobs, she explained. Daddy, Tyler was picking on Sarah, calling her names. I rolled between them and told him to stop. I never touched him. I would never hurt anyone. I looked at the officer, Detective Ray Morrison. We knew each other from the force. His expression told me everything. He wasn't buying Karen's story. Mrs. Williams, Morrison said evenly, do you have any witnesses besides your grandson? My grandson saw everything. Karen replied confidently. He'll tell you exactly what happened. An hour later, that confidence shattered. Under gentle questioning, Tyler cracked. He admitted Emma had never touched him. He admitted his grandmother told him to lie. Grandma said the wheelchair girl needed to be taught a lesson. Tyler confessed, eyes downcast. She said if I helped her, she'd buy me a new video game. The room went silent. Morrison's jaw tightened. Karen Williams, you are under arrest for filing a false police report and child endangerment. The color drained from her face. You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president. That title doesn't put you above the law. Morrison snapped, slapping handcuffs on her wrists. You used a child to spread lies about a disabled girl. That's harassment. That's abuse. As Karen was led out in front of parents, teachers, and kids, Emma whispered to me, her voice trembling, Daddy, is she really arrested? I knelt beside her chair and squeezed her hand. Yes, sweetheart, she can't hurt you anymore. At least, that's what I thought. Karen's arrest was only the beginning. Her wealthy husband wasted no time hiring a team of high-priced lawyers. They painted her as a concerned community leader who had merely overstepped in her duty to keep the neighborhood safe. My client was protecting children from a potentially dangerous situation. One of them argued in court, a wheelchair, improperly handled, can cause serious injury. Mrs. Williams acted out of caution, not malice. I nearly laughed out loud in the courtroom. Caution, coaching a child to lie. That wasn't caution, that was cruelty. Fortunately, District Attorney Sarah Kim wasn't having it. Let's be clear, she told the jury. Mrs. Williams didn't act to protect children. She targeted one child because of her disability. She filed false reports, manipulated her own grandson, and tried to have an innocent 12-year-old girl arrested. That is not leadership. That is discrimination. As the legal fight unfolded, I decided I wasn't going to sit on the sidelines. My instincts told me Karen had done this before, and I was right. Using my SWAT training, I dug into her past. What I found chilled me. In her previous neighborhood, Karen had harassed a family with an autistic son until they finally moved away. She spread rumors, called social services on them 6 times, and tried to brand the boy as a danger to other kids. Before that, she targeted a decorated Army veteran with PTSD. His service dog was his lifeline. Yet Karen led a campaign to have it banned from the neighborhood. She claimed PTSD wasn't a real disability, that he was faking it for attention. I tracked these families down, and when I told them what Karen was doing to Emma, they didn't hesitate. They came forward, ready to testify. One by one, they stood before the court and shared their stories. "She made our lives hell," said Maria Santos, mother of the autistic boy. "She told people my son should be institutionalized. She said I was an embarrassment," testified veteran James Wright. "That disabled people brought down property values. She tried to drive me out of my own home." The courtroom shifted. The jury's eyes widened. Even Karen's supporters on the HOA board looked shaken. The truth was undeniable now. This wasn't one mistake, one misunderstanding. This was a Paterna campaign of hate against anyone she saw as different. And the world was finally seeing Karen Williams for who she really was. Asterisk as news of Karen's arrest and her past spread. Something unexpected happened. Our neighborhood, once divided and silent, began to rally. It started with Mrs. Peterson. One morning, she showed up on our lawn with a handmade sign that read, "We love Emma." By the afternoon, a dozen more neighbors had joined her, holding signs of their own. "Disabilities don't define us. Emma belongs here." Soon, our front yard was filled with people, neighbors I hadn't even spoken to before, standing shoulder to shoulder in support of my daughter. Emma wheeled out onto the porch, her eyes wide as she took in the sight. The neighborhood kids ran up to her with a giant card, covered in doodles and signatures. "It's from everyone at school," one of them explained. "We wanted you to know, we've got your back." For the first time in months, I saw Emma's real smile again, the one that lit up her whole face, not the forced one she wore when trying to be brave. Local businesses even stepped in. The bakery down the street dropped off cupcakes with "Go Emma" written in frosting. A nearby medical supplier offered to donate equipment for Emma's therapy. Support came pouring in from every direction. Mrs. Chin put her arm around me and whispered, "Karen thought she could divide us with hate, but Emma united us with love." Emma, overwhelmed, turned to me later that night. "Daddy, maybe people aren't so bad after all." I hugged her tightly. "No, sweetheart, most people are good. Sometimes it just takes courage to remind them of it." In that moment, I realized something. Karen had tried to break Emma's spirit, but instead, she had ignited a fire of kindness and unity that was bigger than anything our family could have imagined. Karen thought she was isolating us. Instead, she made Emma the heart of our community. Asterisk, the trial stretched on 4 to 10 weeks. Every day, a battle of words, evidence, and emotion. Karen's lawyers spun their story relentlessly, but the weight of truth pressed harder with every witness. Former HOA board members testified against her. She told us disabled families would lower property values. One admitted. She said we needed to make them feel unwelcome until they left. Then came Tyler, her own grandson. Free from her manipulation, he told the jury everything. His small voice cracked as he confessed. "Grandma said she hated Emma because of her wheelchair. She told me to lie so people would think Emma was dangerous." His testimony shattered any illusion. Karen's defense tried to maintain, and finally, it was Emma's turn. My little girl rolled up to the witness stand, her small hands trembling as she swore to tell the truth. Her voice was soft but clear. "I never wanted to hurt Mrs. Williams," she said. "I just wanted to be her friend. I don't understand why she was so mean to me." The courtroom went silent. Grown adults wiped away tears. The jury didn't need long. After only 3 hours, they returned with a verdict. Guilty on all counts: false police reports, child endangerment, harassment, and civil rights violations. Karen's composure finally snapped. "This is ridiculous," she shouted as the judge read her sentence. "I was protecting our community from undesirable elements." Judge Robert Hayes's gavel came down hard. "Mrs. Williams, your actions were not protective. They were cruel, deliberate, and discriminatory. You targeted a disabled child, manipulated your own grandson, and abused your authority. That is inexcusable." The sentence: 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, substantial damages paid to our family, and a lifetime ban from serving on any HOA board. As Karen was led away in handcuffs for the second time, Emma whispered to me, "Daddy, it's really over now, isn't it?" I kissed the top of her head. "Yes, sweetheart, this time, it really is." Asterisk, with Karen gone, Willowbrook Estates began to heal. The HOA elected new leadership, a kind-hearted woman named Dr. Amanda Foster. Her very first act was to issue a formal apology to our family and to every resident Karen had ever harassed. "We failed to protect our most vulnerable neighbors," she said in front of a packed room. "That will never happen again." New policies were written into the bylaws, protecting residents from discrimination and guaranteeing accessibility rights. A community fund was created to help families with disabled members make home modifications without fear of fines. And, in honor of my daughter, they established the Emma Johnson Award, an annual recognition for residents who show extraordinary kindness and inclusion. Emma was stunned. "They named it after me, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes wide. "They did, sweetheart," I said, my throat tight. "Because you showed them what real strength looks like." Months later, letters from Karen began arriving. At first, they were filled with excuses, claims she was misunderstood, that she never meant real harm. But over time, her words changed. Prison counseling had forced her to confront her hatred. I realize now that my actions came from ignorance and fear. She wrote, "Emma, I was wrong. You are not weak, you are stronger than I'll ever be." Emma surprised me with her response. "Maybe I should write her back," she said one night, "not because she deserves it, but because carrying anger is too heavy for my heart." My 12-year-old daughter had more grace in her than most adults I'd ever met. She chose forgiveness not for Karen's sake, but for her own peace. 3 years have passed since that trial, and Emma's story has spread far beyond Willowbrook Estates. She's been invited to schools, conferences, and community events to speak about inclusion. She always ends her speeches the same way. "Everyone is different, Tan. That's what makes the world beautiful. We should celebrate differences, not fear them." At 16, Emma is thriving, an honor student, president of her school's Disability Awareness Club, and one of the most loved kids in her class. Our neighborhood has become a model of acceptance, a place where families of all kinds feel welcome. Property values didn't collapse like Karen warned. They soared because people want to live in a community built on kindness. Sometimes when Emma wheels down the sidewalk, Mr. Peterson still calls out, "Morning, sunshine." And now, the whole block echoes back with smiles and waves. As for me, I've seen evil in many forms. But my daughter taught me something my years on the SWAT team never could. True courage isn't about breaking down doors, it's about choosing love in the face of hate. Karen Williams tried to arrest Emma's spirit, she failed. Because Emma's spirit is unbreakable.